Welcome to Tom's True Crime. Today we take you to Grand Bahama. Grand Bahama is an island in the Bahamas, located in the northern part of the archipelago. Known for its stunning beaches, vibrant coral reefs, and the Lucaya National Park, which is home to one of the longest underwater cave systems in the world. March 2013. The lifeless body of 29-year-old Emma Mursaux was discovered in a luxury villa on the island of Grand Bahama. This is a case of a dream honeymoon turned into a chilling tragedy. The investigation that followed revealed the harrowing unraveling of Emma's marriage to her husband, 32-year-old Alex Mursaux, a man whose jealousy and anger would lead to unspeakable violence. 2010, a whirlwind romance swept Emma and Alex into a relationship that seemed perfect on the surface but hid dangerous cracks beneath. On March 10, 2013, the day began like any other for the staff at an exclusive luxury resort in Grand Bahama. The air was warm, the sky a flawless shade of blue, and honeymooners wandered the pristine beaches hand in hand. It was a picture-perfect morning until a peace was shattered by a discovery that would change everything. Emma Mursaux, a 29-year-old newlywed, had been staying in one of the resort's most private villas with her husband, Alex. The couple had been the talk of the staff, a striking pair who appeared deeply in love, though their interactions sometimes hinted at tension beneath the surface. That morning, however, the staff began to notice something odd. Alex had not shown up for the excursion they had planned, a luxurious cruise designed to showcase the best of the islands. When the hotel concierge called their villa to check on the couple, no one answered. This was unusual, given Emma's habit of being prompt and polite. A housekeeper was sent to the villa to investigate. The scene inside was horrifying. Emma's lifeless body was discovered in the bedroom, lying on the cold marble floor. Her face was swollen and battered, with streaks of dried blood trailing from her forehead. The cuts suggested that she had suffered multiple blows to her head. A shattered champagne bottle, still stained with blood, was found nearby. The sharp contrast of red against the villa's white linens and elegant furnishings made the brutality of the act all the more jarring. Bruises ran along Emma's arms and torso, some fresh and others older, hinting at a history of violence that had gone unnoticed. Staff immediately called the Bahamian police, who arrived quickly and began their investigation. By March 11, 2013, the story was already unfolding with grim clarity. Alex Mursaux, 32, was taken in for questioning. He had been found slumped on a sofa in the villa's living room, his clothes wrinkled and faintly stained with what appeared to be blood. He claimed to have no memory of the previous night, repeatedly blaming his state of mind on excessive drinking. Hotel staff corroborated that Alex had indeed consumed a significant amount of alcohol at the resort bar the evening prior. Witnesses described him as argumentative and agitated, particularly towards Emma. The couple had been seen arguing at the bar late into the night. Staff recalled Emma's attempts to calm Alex, her voice low, in contrast to his sharp, heated tone. He had accused her of paying too much attention to another guest, an older man who had been seated near their table. Though Emma reassured him, Alex's anger appeared to grow. According to security footage later reviewed by the police, the argument spilled out into the resort's open-air lounge area, where Alex was seen forcefully grabbing Emma by the arm as she tried to leave. Her face, though mostly obscured by shadows in the grainy footage, seemed strained, her body language defensive. The investigation revealed more. Forensic evidence began to undermine Alex's claims of memory loss. Fingerprints matching his were found on the bloodied neck of the champagne bottle, the weapon believed to have caused Emma's fatal injuries. Analysts noted how the force of the blows had caused the bottle to shatter, leaving fragments embedded in Emma's wounds. It was a level of violence difficult to attribute to an accidental or drunken outburst. The villa itself offered further clues. Blood spatter patterns indicated a struggle had taken place near the bed. Emma had likely been cornered there, with no chance of escape. A toppled lamp, torn sheets, and a trail of broken glass suggested chaos, a stark contrast to the serene ocean view just outside the villa's large windows. By March 20, 2013, the case against Alex Mursaux had become impossible to ignore. CCTV footage from the night of the incident provided critical evidence. It captured Alex dragging Emma back to the villa around midnight, her movements sluggish, her head drooping as though she was trying to resist but lacked the strength. Witnesses at the bar confirmed that the couple had not returned together in harmony. Staff reported hearing muffled shouting from the villa not long after, though no one had intervened, assuming it was just another argument. With these pieces of evidence, the fingerprints, the CCTV footage, And the forensic findings, Bahamian authorities formally charged Alex Mursaux with the murder of Emma Mursaux. His arrest marked the first step toward unraveling what had truly happened on that fateful night. Yet, even as he was taken into custody, questions lingered. How had a dream honeymoon turned so quickly into a nightmare? What had fueled the rage behind such an act of violence? And what secrets might still be hidden in the lives of the couple who had seemed, to the outside world, so perfect? The answers lay somewhere within the evidence, waiting to be unearthed. But for now, all that remained was the chilling reality of Emma Mursaux's death. A tragedy that had left her family, the resort staff, and the picturesque paradise of Grand Bahama forever scarred. Emma Mursaux had always been a bright presence in any room she entered. She was the type of woman who left a lasting impression, not because she demanded attention, but because she carried herself with an air of kindness and creativity that made people feel at ease. As a marketing executive, Emma thrived on connecting with others, always brimming with new ideas and a passion for her work. Her friends described her as a dreamer, someone who saw the world as a place filled with possibilities. It was no surprise that when she met Alex Mursaux at a networking event 3 years earlier, sparks flew instantly. Alex was charismatic, the kind of man who knew how to make an impression. As a real estate developer, he was successful and confident, charming everyone he met with his wit and good looks. Emma was drawn to his ambition and the way he made her feel like the center of the universe. They quickly became inseparable. For Emma, it felt like the love story she had always hoped for, a whirlwind romance filled with grand gestures and promises of forever. But Alex had a darker side, one that wasn't always visible. Behind the charm, there were moments when his temper flared, sharp and unyielding, often over the smallest things. He was deeply jealous, though he tried to mask it with humor or excuses. His drinking, while not constant, sometimes pushed his moods to dangerous extremes. Despite these red flags, Emma fell deeply in love with Alex. She believed in his potential, in their potential together, and brushed aside her growing concerns. When Alex proposed on the heart-shaped island of Galeshnjak in Croatia, she said yes without hesitation. The moment was picture-perfect, like something out of a romantic movie. Yet, in the months that followed, cracks in their seemingly perfect relationship began to show. The wedding planning became a source of stress rather than joy. Alex insisted on controlling even the smallest details, arguing with Emma over things as trivial as flower arrangements or seating charts. Emma confided in her close friends, sharing her worries about his controlling behavior, but she often downplayed them. She told herself it was just the stress of planning a big event, that things would get better once the wedding was over. And in some ways it did, at least for a while. Their wedding was a grand affair, the kind that left guests marveling at the love they seemed to share. Emma clung to the hope that they were truly starting a new chapter, one that would be free from the tension that had shadowed their engagement. When they boarded the plane for Grand Bahama on March 5, 2013, Emma was filled with excitement. This was their honeymoon, the trip of a lifetime, and she was determined to make it unforgettable. The first few days seemed to live up to that dream. The resort was stunning, nestled in a secluded part of the island, with crystal-clear waters and sunsets that painted the sky in vivid hues of orange and pink. Emma shared photos on social media, snapshots of them laughing on the beach, enjoying candlelit dinners, and exploring the island. To everyone looking in from the outside, it appeared as though the Kellers were living out the perfect honeymoon. But the perfection was a facade. Beneath the surface, tensions were simmering. Resort staff later recalled moments that hinted at trouble. Alex's mood could shift suddenly, turning what should have been romantic moments into silent, uncomfortable meals or whispered arguments. Witnesses reported seeing Emma trying to calm him, her tone soothing as she tried to defuse his outbursts. She always seemed to take the blame for any disagreement, brushing it off with a small smile, as though she didn't want to make a scene. By March 9, 2013, the cracks had widened. That evening, the couple spent time at the resort bar, a vibrant spot where honeymooners mingled and shared stories of their adventures. Emma, ever the social butterfly, struck up a casual conversation with an older man seated nearby. To anyone watching, it seemed innocent, a simple exchange of pleasantries. But Alex didn't see it that way. His jealousy, already bubbling beneath the surface, erupted. The atmosphere at the bar shifted. Staff and guests noticed the tension between the couple as Alex's voice grew louder, his gestures sharper. Emma tried to reason with him, leaning in close as though to keep their conversation private. But his anger was impossible to contain. Eventually, staff had to intervene, gently encouraging Alex to return to their villa and give himself time to cool off. As the evening wore on, the couple left the bar, their departure captured on the resort's CCTV cameras. The footage showed Alex gripping Emma's arm firmly as he led her away. She didn't resist, but her posture was tense, her steps hesitant. It was the last time anyone saw Emma alive. The next morning, the sun rose over Grand Bahama, casting its golden light across the tranquil resort. But inside their villa, something unthinkable had occurred. Emma Mursaux, the bright, creative woman who had once dreamed of a fairy tale romance, would never wake up again. And the man she had believed was her forever love would soon be at the center of an investigation that would reveal the darkness lurking behind their perfect facade. The events that unfolded on the night of March 9, 2013, and the early hours of March 10, 2013, told a story of rage, fear, and desperation. Forensic evidence pieced together the chilling final moments of Emma Mursaux's life, a sequence of violence that revealed the true extent of Alex Mursaux's inner turmoil. In the villa, the evening had begun like many others during their honeymoon, but the tension from their argument at the bar had followed them back. Emma, likely exhausted and trying to avoid further conflict, retreated into the bedroom. At some point, she sought refuge in the bathroom, closing and locking the door behind her. Forensic experts later noted scratches and dents around the door handle, clear signs of an attempt to force it open. The wood near the latch was splintered, a result of Alex breaking the door down in a fit of rage. What happened next was as brutal as it was tragic. Alex's anger escalated beyond control. A champagne bottle, likely meant for a romantic toast, became a weapon in his hands. The investigation revealed that he struck Emma with such force that the bottle shattered on impact, sending shards of glass scattering across the bathroom floor. Blood spatter analysis painted a grim picture of the attack. Patterns on the walls and floor showed Emma had tried to shield herself, her movements desperate as she attempted to escape the blows, but there was no escape. Emma was struck multiple times. The first blow likely stunned her, leaving her vulnerable to the repeated strikes that followed. The force was concentrated, the angle and impact, suggesting that Alex's rage was focused and unrelenting. Forensic experts later noted that the nature of her injuries indicated she had collapsed after a few blows, her body crumpling against the cold tiles of the bathroom floor. Blood pooled around her head, evidence of the fatal trauma she had suffered. The shattered champagne bottle lay amidst the chaos, its jagged edges smeared with blood. Tiny shards of glass were found embedded in Emma's skin, a cruel reminder of the violence she endured. Around her, items from the bathroom were displaced, a knocked-over soap dish, a torn shower curtain, indicating a struggle that was brief but intense. As investigators pieced together the scene, they began to uncover more about the man behind the violence. Alex Mursaux's life had always seemed polished and successful, but beneath the surface, he carried the weight of a troubled past. Psychological reports reveal that Alex had grown up in a household marked by instability. His father, an authoritative and often abusive figure, had instilled in him a deep fear of rejection. His mother, while nurturing in her way, had struggled with her own mental health, leaving Alex to navigate a volatile environment. As he grew older, Alex learned to mask his insecurities with charm and confidence, but those closest to him, including past girlfriends, had occasionally glimpsed the darker side of his personality. Unchecked anger, possessiveness, and a need for control were traits that often surfaced in moments of stress or conflict. While Alex had never been violent before, his inability to cope with feelings of inadequacy or betrayal had always been a red flag. The investigation into Emma's death revealed that Alex's anger that night was not premeditated. This wasn't a planned act of violence, but rather the culmination of years of unresolved rage and control issues. When Emma sought refuge in the bathroom, it likely triggered a feeling of rejection that Alex could not tolerate. In his mind, her act of locking the door became a symbol of defiance, a challenge to his authority. The storm of emotions, jealousy, rejection, and anger exploded in a way that even he may not have anticipated. By the time the violence ended and the villa fell silent, the enormity of what had happened began to sink in. But it was too late. Emma, the woman who had once believed in Alex's potential for goodness, lay lifeless in the place they had come to celebrate their love. The bathroom, with its elegant design and view of the serene Fijian waters, had become a crime scene. The psychological complexity of Alex's actions left investigators grappling with difficult questions. How could a man who seemed so charming and successful harbor such darkness? How a relationship that began with love and promise ended in such devastating violence. Emma's death was not just a result of Alex's actions that night, but tragic endpoint to a lifetime of unresolved emotions and unchecked behaviors. As the details of that night emerged, it became clear that Emma's death was more than a momentary loss of control. It was the tragic consequence of a man unable to confront his demons, whose rage destroyed the very person he claimed to love. The evidence told a story of heartbreak and horror, one that would haunt everyone who knew Emma and leave the world wondering how such a bright light could be extinguished so violently. The trial of Alex Mursaux began on October 15, 2014, a year and a half after Emma's death. By then, the story had already gripped the international media, with outlets across the globe covering every detail of the case. The idea of a honeymoon in paradise turning into a murder scene captivated the public, and people followed the trial closely, eager to understand how such a horrifying event could have occurred. The courtroom was packed on the first day with reporters, legal experts, and members of both Alex's and Emma's families filling the benches. Emma's parents, Sarah and John Davis, sat in the front row, their faces drawn and somber. They had once been full of hope for their daughter's future, imagining her life filled with happiness, success, and family. Now they were here to watch the man they had once welcomed as a son-in-law face justice for her brutal death. The prosecution painted a damning picture of Alex Mursaux, portraying him as a man consumed by jealousy and a need for control. They described how his insecurity and possessiveness had turned deadly on that fateful night in Grand Bahama. Evidence of the crime was presented with precision, starting with the forensic analysis of Emma's injuries and the shattered champagne bottle. The prosecution highlighted the CCTV footage that showed Alex dragging Emma back to their villa after the argument at the bar, an image that was hard to forget. Witnesses from the resort, including staff and other guests, testified about Alex's erratic behavior during the honeymoon, recalling the heated arguments and his escalating anger. It was a pattern that seemed to culminate in the violence of March 9, 2013. The defense team, led by a well-known attorney, tried to shift the narrative. They argued that Alex had been intoxicated on the night of the murder, unable to fully comprehend his actions. They called on psychologists who testified about his troubled past, detailing the emotional scars left by an abusive father and a chaotic upbringing. These witnesses described Alex as a man who had struggled with feelings of inadequacy and rejection his entire life, suggesting that his actions were not those of a cold-blooded killer, but a man overwhelmed by years of unresolved trauma. The defense sought to portray the murder as an unplanned tragic accident, rather than a deliberate act of violence. Despite these efforts, the jury remained unmoved. The prosecution's evidence was overwhelming, and the defense's arguments failed to explain the sheer brutality of Emma's murder. On November 5, 2014, after deliberating for just 3 hours, the jury returned with their verdict, guilty of second-degree murder. The announcement was met with a mix of emotions in the courtroom. Sarah and John wept, holding each other as the weight of the verdict settled in. Alex sat motionless, his face pale, as the reality of his conviction sank in. The sentencing took place 2 weeks later, on November 19, 2014. The judge's words were firm as he handed down a life sentence, ensuring Alex would spend the rest of his days behind bars. For Emma's family, the sentencing provided a sense of justice, but not closure. The loss of their daughter was a wound that would never fully heal. In the aftermath of the trial, the lives of both families were irrevocably changed. Sarah and John channeled their grief into advocacy. They began a campaign to raise awareness about domestic violence, traveling across the country to speak at events and share Emma's story. They hoped to prevent other families from enduring the pain they had suffered, urging people to recognize the signs of controlling and abusive behavior before it was too late. For Alex's family, the fallout was devastating in a different way. His parents, Jack and Donna Mursaux, struggled to reconcile the son they had known with a man who had committed such a heinous act. The once proud real estate family became the subject of public scrutiny and whispers, their reputation tarnished. They withdrew from social circles, moving to a quieter town in an attempt to escape the shadow of Alex's crime. Yet, even in their isolation, they carried the weight of shame and loss, mourning both Emma's death and the son whose life had spiraled so far out of control. The resort in Grand Bahama, once a haven for newlyweds and luxury seekers, became infamous as the site of the tragedy. Its once pristine image was stained, and bookings dropped sharply in the months following the murder. For the staff who had been there that night, The villa where Emma died became a haunting reminder of the violence that had shattered their idyllic surroundings. Some left their jobs, unable to bear the memories, while others stayed, hoping time would dull the pain. As the years passed, Emma's story became a cautionary tale. News outlets revisited the case in documentaries and features, exploring the dangerous dynamics of seemingly perfect relationships. Friends of Emma often spoke about her vibrant personality, her kindness, and the dreams she had for her future, ensuring her memory lived on. The tragedy left lingering questions that would never be fully answered. Could someone have intervened sooner? Were there signs that Emma's life was in danger before they left for Grand Bahama? And most hauntingly, could her death have been prevented if Alex had sought help for the anger and insecurities that had consumed him? The trial and its aftermath stood as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can exist beneath a picture-perfect exterior. What began as a celebration of love and paradise ended in unimaginable heartbreak, leaving both families to grapple with the devastating consequences for the rest of their lives. If you'd like to support our channel and help us to continue to make content, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps us so much, and we really appreciate it.